Hey, this is Matt once again. What about the end of the video? Another paid request, this time from Marv B. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting any type of videos, topics, reactions, commentaries, reviews, re-reviews, whatever it may be, randomness, out of the blueness, you can feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, this is a film, Five Deadly Venoms, that I'd heard of throughout the years. Just here's the thing, I didn't grow up with the Shaw Brothers type of kung fu stuff as a kid. With martial arts films, where I lived in the middle of nowhere in Iowa growing up, we didn't have these type of films. We didn't have them on TV because we only had 4 channels: ABC, CBS, another form of CBS, and PBS. And they were not available to rent at the store. I say store, but it was like gas station in this town, a gas station or a little supermarket in this town, and there's a grocery store that was probably twice as big as this room. Or you had to drive like 40 minutes to a bigger grocery store that had a bit more movies to rent, but they didn't have this type of stuff. So the martial arts films I grew up with was Jean-Claude Van Damme, early Dolph Lundgren, and Steven Seagal, and Chuck Norris, and it wasn't until later with cable that I found the Hong Kong films of John Woo, bit of Jackie Chan, bit of Bruce Lee. But even at that point, during that time, I didn't know much about the Kung Fu Shaw Brothers type of format. And the thing is, Five Deadly Venoms is kind of in that realm of popularity like Five Fingers of Death. It's always five. Five Fingers of Death, Five Deadly Venoms. Five is a... Well, I guess base says you five. Five across the eyes. Is there a movie called that? Five Across the Eyes? There you go. Actually, I think there is. I think I reviewed it as a horror film. Should be an action film. Five Across the Eyes. Anyway. I had heard about this for so long, so I was interested in giving it a look once I got the request. And I hate to say it, while I did not hate the film, I was a bit disappointed with it. Because I did not realize the film did not have that much action. In fact, it's more of a mystery, little bit of a thriller. It's more of a mystery movie. Now I can see people enjoying that, and I enjoyed it to an extent, because it made it feel different from other films. It didn't feel like the same thing over and over again. You kill my master, I kill you, time to die, that type of stuff. Although it seemed like it started out that way. But sadly, in a way, I kind of wish it was that, where it was about a guy whose master died, and he's got to fight each one of these five deadly venoms to avenge his master and adapt to their techniques. That might be more typical, that might be more boring to some, but I almost would say I might have enjoyed the film more if it did go down that route. But I just say I appreciate what it was trying to do. But, the opening, I would say, is the best part of this movie. Because you have this young pupil that's with his teacher who's dying. The teacher, he's worried about his other pupils, the five deadly venoms. And he's wondering if one of them, or two of them, or three of them, or all of them have gone down the bad, wrong path. And if so, they may try to get another teacher who has a map to his fortune. And he's worried that they'll bring dishonor to the Poison clan, and that they'll hurt his reputation, honor and glory, all that stuff. So I'm going to teach you their techniques and also their weaknesses, so you can find them, study them, who they are, because their identity is a mystery, and then figure out whether they are the good guys or the bad guys. So we're then given to a bit of montage of each of the five deadly venoms. And they're wearing these kind of cool looking masks. They kind of remind me much later on what the three ninjas would wear. Colt and Tum Tum, like those kind of masks. But there's five of them, and one, it's Centipede, Snake, Lizard, Frog, and Scorpion. Now, I don't know if you need the moniker on the mask, so it's like a fake toad or a fake lizard on the mask. That made it seem a bit goofy. I think just the mask itself would have been fine enough, but maybe they thought people would be confused unless you actually see the centipede or the toad on there, but I don't know. Maybe have like a little, try to have like maybe a logo on their shirt or something instead. I don't know. It being right there on the forehead seemed a bit silly to me. But I like the rest of the look of the mask, and you see them doing their moves. So Centipede is super quick and fast, as if he had multiple arms. Like he's that fast and quick. Stay style, these very powerful punches and thrusts. Scorpion has these very strong kicks, like the sting of a scorpion. Toad is very strong. Seems almost like immune, like invulnerability. Can even bend steel. I'm not sure how that relates to an actual toad, but okay. And Lizard, he's so adept at the walls, he can actually climb and stand on the walls to fight. Well, you get some fun bits of that at the finale of the film. And so this pupil is... We don't see him actually being taught these things. We're just told, I'm going to teach you these things. But it would have been nice to see a bit of a training montage of this pupil learning each of these moves, being adept at each one of these, so he's doing each one of the 5. He's supposed to learn all of them. But we don't really get a montage of that. We just did the montage of each of the 5 and the flashback doing some of their moves, which was cool to see. And in with the way they look and the certain different styles. And the music too. The music has a weird vibe to it. I'm not sure how to describe it. I don't know if there's a violin or maybe not a violin, but just something about it made it seem separate from other kung fu films. And I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. Let's see where this leads to. And what it leads to is a mystery where there's not a lot of action until maybe the finale, the last 10 minutes. There's little bits here and there, to be fair. It's not like there's zero. There's little bits here and there. But it's more about who's this guy, who's this guy, who's that guy, who do you trust, who's this. Ultimately, you find out like Centipede and Snake are working together. Lizard and Toad are working together. Scorpion is a mystery. It's not Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, but Scorpion is the only one that comes out with a mask. And of course with the dub, when he talks, things are really muffled. He's talking here, and his voice is very muffled like this. I don't know if it's like that in his natural dialect, but in the English dub, it sounded a bit funny. And spoiler alert, you find out that Snake and Centipede are the bad guys who kill this family, trying to kill this wealthy, fellow wealthy teacher. Can't find the map. The Scorpion finds the map, but doesn't tell anybody, and we found out later why. There's a witness to the crime. Lizard is posing as one of the cops, one of the police. And before I forget, the guy who plays Lizard, who becomes one of our main heroes and leads, that's Philip Kwok. That's Mad Dog from Hard Boiled. Have you ever seen John Woo's Hard Boiled? You know the henchman with the eye patch at the finale? In the hospital, he won't kill the innocent people. He's putting his gun down. So he has a little bit of code to him. That's Mad Dog. That's the guy who... Honestly, he's more of the star than the young pupil we set up at the beginning. This guy's more of the star of the film, at least in my eyes. Which I was fine, because it was cool to see him. Oh, I recognize that guy. I'm sure the others I've seen in other movies, but that's the one that stuck out the most to me. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'm like, he looks familiar. I'm like, oh, that's where I remember from. So he plays a lizard. He's a guy pretending to be a cop. He's with his buddy Toad, that guy who's tough and strong. And one thing leads to know, the witness knows who the Centipede is. They arrest the guy. They try to get him to talk. Lizard is told to go in a different place far away. The bad guys work with the judge, pay off the judge. They turn cold, so Centipede's no longer arrested. They put the blame on the Toad character. He gets arrested. There's one bit of action scene where the Centipede and the Toad have a fight. It's that old school kung fu where it's like very much stilted, where it's like a dance routine. And some of that can be fine and fun, but I much prefer the Bruce Lee or Jean-Claude Van Damme, like those style of gritty fights. I can appreciate a kung fu fight that has that sort of certain rhythm to it, but you can tell that sometimes as if they don't really want to hit each other in that intensity. It's like, okay, we gotta be part of this routine. Make sure, don't misstep. Sometimes it'd be fun to be had with that, like in the third act of the finale. I'm just saying that's not my preferred martial arts for viewing experience, at least for me. So then, any more in the spoilers, the Toad is put into the Iron Maiden to the Bill and Ted joke. No, all right, kill them, bogus. So he gets put into Iron Maiden. He's led to be invulnerable, but someone, the Scorpion, knows his weak point behind the ears. He gets weakened. They hurt him enough that he passes out. And I was a bit surprised by how violent at times he got. Like the snake and the centipede want to kill witnesses, so they take like a hook and they put the witness's throat, and they do this to kill him. And they pull out, blood comes out of the guy's mouth. There's another guy who's like a dirty guard, and they don't want any witnesses, even though the guy helped them. So they put a hook up his nose. You get the idea, it goes into his brain. The one guy told they suffocate him after they weakened him. So it did decently violent. I mean, it's not wall-to-wall blood, guts, gore. I'm not leading that on. I'm just saying, at times it's a little bit more violent than I thought it would be. But it's not blood, guts, it's just the intention of it. Like, you know. But I gotta say, what I was saying at the beginning, with all that I heard about this film, I thought it was kind of dull. Like there was not a lot of action. The pupil from the beginning is pretty much on the sidelines until like 80 minutes in, and it's only like a 95 or so minute movie. Because it's not until 80 minutes in where finally the pupil realizes that the lizard is the one on the up and up, talks with him, tells him what's going on. The two join together to fight the centipede, the snake. And then the scorpion doesn't care about anybody, he just wants them all to kill each other. Before I forget, I thought it was a very fun dub. I don't know if this is how it was in the dialect, but in the English dub, apparently the password to get Lizard to trust him, the pupil says, "Poison Clan, watch the world." Now, I don't know if that's how it was originally, but when I heard "Poison Clan, watch the world," I'm like, what? Okay. Rock out with your cock out. A Doyle rules. Or Doyle rules. Or Doyle rules. I don't know. But, and also with the scorpion with the mask, he's muffling through his dialogue like this. So you do get a kung fu fight at the end. The lizards find the centipede. The young pupil from the beginning is fighting the snake. They're taking the hits and back and forth. You get some decent moments and shots. Philip Quark as the lizard getting on the side, and the way they made that look in 1978, was kind of fun in a goofy way. So he's standing on the side here, in case there's a poster blocking it. He's standing on the side here, fighting the guy, and Scorpion gets a bit on it. I wish it was the actual Scorpion from Mortal Kombat. Get over here! I wish it was that Scorpion, because I thought that was a much better Scorpion than this guy. I mean, he does some kicks, but then it's funny when our two leads get on the top. The guy's like trying to kick, but he's like kicking the air. And it just looks like with no... If you turn the volume down, it looks like the guy's having a tantrum, like a kid at a candy store that won't get the candy, or you won't give the kid you won't buy the kid the video game. He's like, because he can't kick up there. Super duper duper spoilers. Pretty much what happens is Snake realizes Scorpion doesn't care about any of them. So Scorpion throws some stuff at Snake's back and front, wounds him very badly. So when Scorpion's now looked at Snake, gets some little pain to return, wounds Snake. I mean, these all fucking code words get me confused. Snake wounds Scorpion, and Scorpion does a kick to Snake's head, where you see some blood there, and he flops and he dies. So Snake is gone. Now that Scorpion's been wounded, they fuck with him up and kick him a bit, and he's down. And then our two leads double team on Centipede, punch and kick him, and then he's down. So the two win, they find the map, they're going to pay off the clan's debt to society, walk off the end. I was not a big fan of this movie. And why did I just tell the plot? In case people don't want to see it and they just want to hear a wrap-up of it. Just sometimes that's how I view things, is that if people are never going to see it, I'll just tell you what happens in the entire movie. So if you didn't want to see it in the first place, at least you know what happens. And, oh yeah, I wasn't going to see it in the first place, but now I know. Thanks for the plot synopsis. Thanks for spoiling everything. You're welcome. That's why I do that a lot in my videos. But I appreciate them trying to do something different with the mystery and trying to have little twists and turns. But it just was kind of boring, to be perfectly honest. It was kind of boring. Maybe it was one of those films that it was a movie of its time, but at the same time, 1978, this is around the time you got Enter the Dragon, you need to watch The Big Boss, and The Return of the Dragon, and you don't watch some of these other martial arts films in the 70s. I wonder, do I have... I'm curious at. Well, no, shit. That's... He didn't do this, but good guy John Beckett, the Flying Ninja 1, if he's watching, hope you're doing well. He did this. Now, this is the Western martial arts films of the 70s. So, but, I mean, I would rather watch Enter the Game of Death, to be perfectly honest. I mean, there's not much plot, but if you want a lot of ass kicking, there you go. Enter the Game of Death. I'd rather watch that than this. I think that came around, I think, the same year as this. And people get pissed at me, but I think that's more of a fun movie. Soul Brothers of Kung Fu. I know that's part of the Bruceploitation, but I thought that was a much better film, had much more exciting fight scenes in it. I like Carl Scott in that movie. And that had, which of the Bruces? Which one was it? Bruce Lee with L.I. I thought that was actually a pretty good one, Soul Brothers of Kung Fu. Like, that I would recommend over this, in my opinion. Man from Hong Kong, 1975. Brian Trencher Smith starring Jimmy Wayne Yu. Jimmy Wayne Yu might not have been a good person at all, but you know what? The Man from Hong Kong was a much more exciting action film than this movie. The Man from Hong Kong. If you're interested, by the way, he did this book. This is a very cool book. Definitely worth a read. Sorry, I did a bad job selling it. But yeah, Five Deadly Venoms. It's on YouTube for free if you want to give it a watch. I like the opening. The ending has some fun, goofy kung fu moments. Some old school kung fu that, some may enjoy. The plot, I just didn't grab me as much as others. I was semi-interested in some bits of the mystery of who these characters were, but at the same time, I thought it kind of dragged. And I was hoping for a lot more action or a lot more craziness. After the opening, I thought it'd be even crazier movie. Game of Death 2. That's a film I enjoy much more than this. Game of Death 2. That has some really good fight scenes in the third act. The fight scenes in that movie in the third act, when it's like a James Bond meets Bruceploitation movie, there's some really good shots in that third act. The first third of Game of Death 2 is a bit rough. It's a bit rough to get through. But then you get some insanity with a guy pretend to be a fucking lion, and you got some excellent crazy fight scenes in the third. Like that Game of Death 2, I think is better than Game of Death 1. I'd rather watch them Five Deadly Venoms. So get mad. People get mad all they want. And it's not that I hate the film. I just found it terrible. It was cool to see Mad Dog from Hard Boiled in more of a lead role. The people I wish did more. It's like he did nothing throughout most of the damn movie. Just pretend to be a bum. Pretend to be a homeless bum guy. Sitting there on the sideline with a thumb up his ass. Like, do something. So, did some more actions. Did some more ass kicking. Or more craziness. Or more insanity. Maybe that's why the thing with the hook in the mouth, I'm like, okay, finally something different is happening. But, like any other movie, you ever watch for your own? A lot of people love it, call it Kung Fu classic. I'm like, there's other Kung Fu films I enjoy. Again, some of the Bruceploitation films I enjoyed more. I just named 3 of them. Game of Death 2, Soul Brothers of Kung Fu, and Enter the Game of Death I enjoyed much more than this. But that's just me. So with that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.